Hey guys, Miles and Ramos, and this Sunday the Miami Dolphins go to Tennessee to face the 10-5 Tennessee Titans. And Dolphins 8-7, currently in the 7th seed. Tennessee currently in the 2nd seed. So realistically, this is like a playoff game. Like if the season were to end today, the Miami Dolphins would be playing their playoff game against the Tennessee Titans, and it's pretty much as it is because the next two opponents for the Miami Dolphins are playoff likely opponents because Tennessee 10-5, they're pretty much locked into the playoffs, just not officially yet. And then Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots 9-6. I don't see another team bouncing the Patriots out of the playoffs, possibly the Miami Dolphins if they lose this week. But they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it's so tough to say that the Patriots could lose to those guys. But if they do, that's great news because then the Dolphins could have a real chance of improving their seeding. Now, with that being said, yes, 2 versus 7 matchup this week if the season were to end today, and coincidentally, it does not. But yes, the Miami Dolphins control their own destiny. Dolphins, if they win the next 2 games, they are 100% issuing for the playoffs. But with that being said, this is not a game that the Dolphins can afford to lose, neither next week. So just tough road ahead for the Miami Dolphins. But if they want to make something happen, they got to be at the top of the game right now. So with that all being said, let's get into this game, Miami Dolphins versus Tennessee Titans. Now, it's interesting. The Dolphins are coming off a 7-game win streak. Still no respect because ESPN Match Predictor has the Miami Dolphins 37.3% chance of winning. Tennessee 62.4%. But pretty much saw the same thing last week for the Miami Dolphins against Saints, and that was with them having a COVID-ridden season week. So let's talk about some of the storylines in this game. It's the first time Ryan Tannehill gets to play his former team, the Miami Dolphins, since they traded him away about 3 years ago. Which makes it all the more interesting for this matchup. I saw this funny tweet, and it was a picture of Ryan Tannehill and Bill Belichick, and it's like Ryan Tannehill and Bill Belichick are the only things that stand in the Dolphins' way of making the playoffs. And then someone quoted it and said, "Not much has changed," and that's pretty interesting because it's pretty true. Dolphins ride and died by Tannehill during his stint here in Miami. And then Bill Belichick is just Bill Belichick. He's just always a problematic coach to go up against. But let's get into some injuries. So Miami Dolphins, John Jenkins, defensive tackle, he's confirmed out. And then we have Lynn Bolden Jr., wide receiver, injured reserve. Brendan Scarlett, linebacker, injured reserve. Greg Little, offensive tackle, injured reserve. And Alan Hearns, wide receiver, injured reserve. On top of that, I think we're getting a lot more players back from the COVID list because there was a few that were on the list for the Saints game, but that's all fine and dandy. Definitely want to see what could happen with all these players returning. I think the backfield is going to be an interesting thing to see for the Miami Dolphins in this game. For the Tennessee Titans, they have Jayon Brown, linebacker. He's confirmed out, which is pretty big for the Titans because I think he's a big piece of their defense. Denarco Murray, defensive end, he is out. Caleb Farley, cornerback, injured reserve. Laurel Munchkinson, defensive tackle, questionable. And then Derek Robertson, linebacker, he is questionable. There's a possibility that Derrick Henry does return for the Tennessee Titans this week. I don't think it's likely, though, as much as I don't want the Dolphins to face Derrick Henry. It's going to be inevitable, possibly coming into the playoffs, but we just got to wait and see what happens. But definitely there's rumors that he could return for this game because he's been out since about, I'd say week 6 or 7. He's been out, so he's been out almost 10 weeks. Should be interesting to see what happens there for the Miami Dolphins. On top of that, pretty evenly when you look at the stats for both teams. Points per game, just about a 3-point difference. Points allowed, pretty much the same, just a 0.7 difference. And then total yards, just about a 40-yard split. Dolphins have less total yards than the Tennessee Titans, 328 on the season, 361 for the Titans. And then big difference is rushing. Their rushing attack is very good, so we'll talk about that in a few. Yards allowed, pretty similar. Still, Titans are better in this situation. So, Dolphins 360, Titans 351. Now, the Titans have lost a few games recently, quite a few. They lost to Houston 22-13, lost to the Patriots 36-13. It's pretty much, if you keep them around 13 points, the Titans are going to lose, which is interesting to see because their other loss 19-13 against Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, I guess that's the key, keeping the 13 points. That should be interesting. But it's going to be a tough one for the Miami Dolphins. They're traveling to Tennessee. I think they're already on the way there. January 2nd, 2022. 1 o'clock kickoff at Nissan Stadium. So let's talk about some of the keys for victory for the Miami Dolphins. First and foremost, we've seen what happens to Tannehill when he holds the football too long. Either he gets sacked a lot, or he throws errant throws. He forces things. Lately in Tennessee, he's been better at that. But Dolphins, pretty sure a lot of Dolphin fans know exactly what I'm talking about. That Tannehill just, either when he holds the ball, just mistakes happen. Strip sack fumbles, interceptions, stuff like that. So that's a good defensive strategy for the Miami Dolphins. So that's one way they can win, just make Tannehill uncomfortable. And I think we have the defense for that. Then offensively, I think they got to match Tennessee's running game. Tennessee, even without Derrick Henry, has still found a way to be successful in the running game, given that they've just had random running backs like plug and play. They even had Adrian Peterson at one point. But yeah, Tennessee is just stopping the run, matching the run in terms of offense. Having a solid running attack to complement whatever you're doing on offense, whether it's being pass heavy or run heavy. I think the running game is very vital in this game for the Miami Dolphins. And the second they start shying away from it, it's definitely going to possibly get away from them. So that's something that the Dolphins need to avoid at all costs. And then last but not least, limit the mistakes. That's what they did against the New Orleans Saints last week. I think Tua had one interception, if I'm not mistaken, against the Saints. And it was just a miscommunication. It wasn't very, one interception. And I think he also had a fumble, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But yeah, just the miscommunication between him and Matt Collins caused that interception. And he also had a fumble, but luckily Liam Eichenberg got on top of it. So pressure on Tannehill, but make it kind of slow pressure. Do not let him escape. Tannehill can run with the ball, so just contain and pressure him, Tannehill. Match Tennessee's running game. Just be efficient with the runs and have it really complement the offense. Then limit mistakes, offensively and defensively. Coming off of a pretty much a shutout, Dolphins held the Saints to 3 points last week. I think if they can kind of replicate that, possibly keep Tennessee at 13 points, because that's where the last 3 games that they've lost, they've had 13 points, which is I find very interesting for the Saints. For the Titans. But aside from that, it's just going to be a tough sledding game for the Miami Dolphins. They never really, in history, do good in these late season games when a lot is on the line. But this is possibly a time for things to change for them. And week 1, they also scored 13 points. The only other loss, they had 24 points. And it was a 3-point loss to the New York Jets. So it is what it is. Hopefully the Dolphins can get this win, just further cementing their chances of making the playoffs. And it will be interesting. Like I said, this is a 2-7 matchup. Like if the season were to end today, this is who the Dolphins would play. So just hope you guys enjoyed the video and come back after the game and I'll have a post-game review. And thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to check out this week's game picks. Happy New Year's, by the way.